This is Rebecca Lowe, or Rebecca Lua, if you listen to Suboptimal Radio, and you are listening to Men in Blazers on the NBC Sports Network.
It's unbelievable!
From the Embassy Road Studios in the crap part of Soho, it's the Men in Blazers podcast, Rog.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah.
Like the Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah.
In fact, this is our new pod, and welcome. Footballers in Spanish tax trouble.
Oh, my word.
I love Spanish tax
I don't have
trouble.
time for that podcast. It would go on forever,
Oh,
Rog.
it's fantastic. Spanish litigators, if you're listening. As they say in Fargo 3, the shallow end of the pool, it's where the turds float. We are back. What a couple of weeks, Davo. We've been everywhere, mate.
Yeah, we were together in the old country, Rog.
We were. In the LA of England, Birkdale. Just outside of Liverpool.
Yeah.
Shoot some stuff ahead of the Open. Don't you dare call it the British Open.
Yeah, the Open.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Good seeing you in your natural element.
Well, the North.
A golf course.
Oh, yeah, very good. That's much more effective. A golf club. Yeah, I love a golf club.
It was like seeing a bird for the first time in its natural habitat in the wild. Wow, we had a gorgeous time, and the content that we taped there is going to be released on the Golf Channel. A morning drive around the Open.
Yeah.
If we can actually edit it before then. Dave, we're in LA.
We apologise in advance for our suboptimal
Sullying
golf coverage.
the sport of golf. We're in LA, mate, for EA Play.
Oh, we were. That's right. We were there.
We'll launch the FIFA game. Yeah. True honour. I've got to say, I live for that game, EA Sports FIFA. To be able to unveil the 2018 edition with news that Alex Hunter, English Christian Pulisic, in the journey, is moving to LA Galaxy. Yeah. Which, I mean, it was a pinch me, I'm dreaming moment. Well done, Don Garber. Biggest signing, arguably, since David Beckham. EA Sports is that powerful. But we did a lot of rehearsals at EA
Lallis
Play.
isn't happy about it.
That he's not again. He's not on the cover again.
No, he's not happy about Alex Hunter going to the Galaxy. It's not what MLS needs, these big free agents.
We did a lot of rehearsals at EA Play.
We did.
About 12 more than we normally do, right?
Yeah, we've never rehearsed that much.
The highlight of the whole event was the two poor souls, makeup artists, who had to hang out with us for hours on the day of the event, in between one of our dozen rehearsals. And when you're in a room, you make small talk to begin with, right, David? Yeah. You know, where you're from in London, they'll ask. And we say, Liverpool. Well, where's that in London?
Do you know Bill from Yorkshire?
Yeah. And I used to live in Brighton, that kind of stuff. And then boredom hits in for these poor people. And they're just trapped with two balls. And so one of them finally pipes up to break the agonising ice. And she says, you Englishman? And then she just doubled over laughing. Dave, your mind was racing. We had no idea what she was about to ask, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a feeling it might be something somewhat sexual related.
I was sure she was going to ask us about English males and their general lack of circumcision.
No,
she surprised me.
She surprised us by asking, is it true?
She took a deep breath at that point.
Is it true that all Englishmen wear women's underwear?
Like to wear women's underwear.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know what to say. It was slightly awkward.
I know.
So I just looked at her and I said, you mean mummy's knickers? Oh, God. I didn't know what to say, Dave. I mean,
to my knowledge.
She was so absolute about it.
Here's the thing I say is, to my knowledge,
all Englishmen.
In my recollection,
all Englishmen.
I sound like I'm in a deposition. Not that I recall. But in my recollection, I have never worn women's underwear. Now, having said
What's wrong with you, man?
Having said that, what I would say is that if all Englishmen have worn women's underwear, it's because all Englishmen do tend to go to the pub or the bar on the Friday night, Saturday night, and get so out of their minds that they may well put on women's underwear. And I'm not saying that hasn't happened at some point, but I just don't recall it. I have no recollection of it.
I've thought about this a lot since we spoke to her, and I hope she's listening. She was so absolute, all Englishmen, not just the one random gen that she'd hooked up with, probably Ashley Cole, though I'm not naming names. It was totally, but for the English listeners, please email us, meninblazers@gmail.com. We will withhold your names, but we need more scientific intel, more research into this deep, important subject.
The other highlight you didn't mention of EA Play in Los Angeles was our intentionally missed high five, which trended massively worldwide. On Reddit, I think it was the #1 story from the entire
Thanks to PewDiePie
from the whole of
retweeting it.
the whole of EA Play, of us missing our high five. I think it was posted thinking that we'd just missed it.
Thinking that we could actually hit a high five if we wanted
but
to.
there's no idea how many times we rehearsed that missed high five in order to get the miss perfectly.
Oh, it was beautiful. And I even wore a pair of women's underwear just to make sure that we'd miss while we were doing it, Dave. I didn't tell you that detail. Highlight of the England trip actually happened on the plane on the way over, Dave.
Yeah.
I look over at you
Uh-huh.
and you're watching Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, lost it.
And
Final
you're
half hour.
sobbing, Dave.
Final half hour of Beauty and the Beast. My God, that new Disney production, it is magnificent. I probably lost the entire audience at that point, but it really is an amazing, amazing film. I relate so hard to the Beast, Rog. I relate so hard to the
I
Beast.
actually imagine you dying like the Beast, Dave.
Yeah.
With the last petal falling and the servants becoming inanimate around you.
But he doesn't die. He doesn't die.
Don't ruin it.
It's all okay in the end, Rog, but I related so hard. I cried so hard.
So hard.
I've never sobbed, even including Blindside. I've never cried so hard in a movie. Uncontrollable sobbing.
I thought it was so funny watching you sob, David. I got to be honest. And then on the way home, a flight which I flew solo,
Yeah.
I watched back to back 20th Century Women and then Daniel Blake. And I was snotting up, David. I crap you not. I was just absolutely, the tear ducts were just truly emptied all over my face. And it felt glorious. Quickly, want to thank quite literally the thousands of you that have sent us in one news article from Mozambique warning both Davo and I with real concern in your voices, dear GFOPs, that one or the other of us in our travels might go to Mozambique.
Yeah. Well, we'll not be going to Mozambique anymore, Rog, because according to the BBC, bald men in Mozambique could be targets of ritual attacks, police have warned, after the recent killing of 5 men for their body parts.
Yeah, David, the belief is that the head of a bald man in Mozambique contains gold.
It does.
Yeah, a police commander explained. Big if true.
Yeah.
If the head of a bald man really does contain gold, Dave, we are rich beyond our wildest dreams.
There's gold in them, there hills.
It's what I wanted to tell you, Dave.
Yeah.
LeBron James, talking about rich balds. Welcome, friendo.
Yeah.
Finally, he's faced the music while we have been away.
Yeah.
Posting a video on Instagram with a caption, "Bald head nut," showing off his new shaved head finally. Baldness is truth. Baldness is truth, LeBron. Here's what I don't understand, David. LeBron's hairline, holding on to it so desperately, so publicly. A gent who has everything in the world, and I mean everything. What made him feel a sense of inadequacy to try and cling onto it so shamelessly for so long?
Yeah. It's an interesting character. If we did a basketball show, if we did Men in Blazers basketball, we would be talking about LeBron constantly. He's one of the most fascinating people in sports because he's so elite, he's so brilliant, and yet at the same time also seems so sensitive. I'm not sure that I can think of an American elite superstar athlete who seems as sensitive as LeBron James.
It's an astonishing thing. I mean, Jordan owned his baldness at such an early age. Maybe that's why LeBron was holding on to it to try and differentiate himself.
Yeah, maybe.
We can't all have George Marison's locks.
Yeah, it's very
It's the honest truth. Quick Men in Blazers update before we get to the bloody football.
Yeah.
Want to thank all the GFOPs for your response to our Adidas video series that we made. The Future, which we looked at the journey and the challenges facing young American prospects in the youth development system. You watched it, David?
Yeah, of course I've watched it, Rog. They're brilliant.
Can we just say J-Dubs and Lexi and Evan Matthews, the
Yeah.
great triumvirate of producers, my God, poured their hearts and souls, and the response has been truly phenomenal. It was really an honour to make these films about 2 terrific gents, Amadeo and Prince. If you've not seen them, they're still on our Twitter and our Facebook. Please look at them, share them far and wide because the kids deserve it, and tell us what you think. Your feedback means the world to us. And this week we've got a pod special, a truly special pod special with one of my favourite writers in the world, the great Jim Shepherd, a man who I think can teach us more about life than most biblical prophets, let's just say. And then Friday, we head to Hartford with producers J-Dubs and Lexi to spend the day with your US Gold Cup team. A lot of content from that to come. But enough American ball sports, Dave, to the football.
Yeah, we got a packed show. We're going to break down all of the ridiculous rumours and done deals. Very few done deals, Roger, of the transfer window thus far, including the big one Darren Fletcher from West Brom to Stoke. We cast our minds back to the US men's national team's 1-1 tie against Mexico to talk about what it means for the Gold Cup and beyond. And we relive an MLS rivalry week that saw New York turn blue. Plus, in descending order of importance, the US Open Cup, the Under-20 World Cup, and the Confederations Cup. We might mention the European Under-21 Championships
Only
also.
if we win it.
Yeah, well, no, we won't know by the end of this pod. Okay, Rog, to the football.
Oh, Dave, out to the football. I mean, to be honest, as we raise our Guinness, the football, it's been a little lacklustre of late, right?
Well, there hasn't really been any football.
Yeah. I mean, all that's left for Premier League fans is to work themselves into a frenzy, so we will, around the release of the Premier League fixture list. Wow, United have got a kind opening to the season. Wow, Chelsea have a grinding set of fixtures after their Champions League midweek games. They'll actually play Arsenal, Man City, Man United and Liverpool after their Champions League group rounds. There's no fixing going in here, Davo. Mm-hmm. West Ham unable to play their first scheduled home game of the season because the London Stadium is not ready because of the summer's World Athletics Championships. My favourite headline came out of the Daily Mail, who have already written an article pinpointing exactly when Arsenal will fall out of the title race.
Chelsea open the season at home against Burnley. Second game, they go away to Tottenham Hotspur.
None of it matters, though, Dave. Everyone plays everyone twice. Having said that, Everton's start to the season, a murderer's row. They play Stoke, Man City, Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester United, which means we will have locked up the title by the second week in September. Wire to wire, baby. Just 53 days to go and counting. Biggest football news that I care about, Dave, with all of the world footballers holidaying in New York, Lukaku, Jerome Boateng, Dele in your home of Los Angeles, Benzema in Miami. At CM Cole sent us a photo of himself with Ivan Rakitic.
Yeah.
Watching the Des Moines Menace soccer game in Iowa. I just loved it. What a connoisseur.
Yeah.
Rakitic. What could have taken him out there, do you think, David?
Oh, it could be signing. That's the rumours. The Rakitic to...
Rakitic to the Menace.
To the Menace. Let those rumours start now.
I think he loves the pork tenderloin at Nick's on the Army Post Road. Oh, Nick's.
Absolutely. Okay, let's forget the fixture list for a moment and talk about the comings and goings of the transfer window, starting with what's happening at Man U, who declined Zlatan's option, but have been linked to pretty well every other big name in global football, including one, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rog.
I can't believe this is real, right, David? It seems to happen every year around this time that he's vaguely linked for a big return. I mean, it's just a contract renegotiation ploy that Real Madrid seem to love falling for every time, like Charlie Brown kicking a football that Lucy holds. I say the chance...
When did Mourinho, because you tweeted out, you interviewed Mourinho, Mourinho said something very interesting about Ronaldo.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I ever interviewed Mourinho was just after he'd been rejected. Chucked out of Real Madrid, spat out. And I sat down with him and I asked him some stupid question about Chelsea. And he just completely irrelevantly segued into a story about Ronaldo, fat Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. And I couldn't understand. I was like panicking, like, why is he going there? And then he looked at the camera dead in the eye and he just said, I'm talking about Brazilian Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo, with a wink. And he just knew that he just dropped a diss that would make news around the world and that Ronaldo then, within 2 days, would have to respond to, because that's the way the football world works. The notion that Ronaldo is going to return to the Premier League and have the crap kicked out of him and put his legacy on the line, and for Mourinho, who clearly detests him, to manage him, sadly not going to happen. But don't worry, United. You've got Benfica's Swedish defender, Victor Lindelof. You've probably got Matic coming in.
Yeah.
And what I did love about the Lindelof signing, the signature was not yet dry. Where do you think he headed?
I don't know this, but I'm going to guess. Was it a certain Chinese restaurant named Wings?
It was. He cropped up for his post-signing celebration dinner at Wings.
Of course he did.
Like Jesus being baptised by the Al-Magtus ruins on the Jordan River. It was like watching a ritual purification that made him truly holy. But wow, we've got to talk about it. Zlatan, the great English Premier League era, is over, Dave. The conscious uncoupling has begun. Heroic scorer of 17 goals in 28 appearances before the season-ending injury. What happened?
Tough to say. I mean, without any doubt, Zlatan was Man United's best player last season. It's going to be very hard to replace him. Seemed like there was a love affair between him and Mourinho. It's just hard to figure out what happened.
I mean, unless you watch United, the more you're surprised by the news, which was an odd truth. He'd just been left out of the side before he had the season-ending injury. And what it masks is that his charisma and his potency, they were one of United's bright spots of the season. But tactically, his presence just slowed the United game down to a crawl, made everything around him lesser. So he's paid the iron price, securing a new number 9, top of the United agenda. Announced Cristiano already. Alvaro Morata, far more likely. As to where Zlatan will end up, Davo, age 35. Not sure how his injury will impact his performance. Not out of the bounds of belief that he'll be MLS's Ibra within the next 6 months.
He could go to the Menace.
Oh, they're in the market, let's just say.
Across Manchester at the Etihad, Rog, City boss Pep Guardiola has thrown the vault at the Claudio Bravo problem, spending $39 million on Benfica goalkeeper Ederson, breaking a British transfer fee record at that position.
A new goalie for Pep to break. City linked with just about every international defender who's A, breathing, and B, has tattoo sleeves, which is pretty well all of them. I've got to say, One-to-way Nolito has done the Manchester Tourist Board no favours, complaining about the city of Manchester and the hardships that he had during his miserable stay. He said, "I've learned very, very little English. It's very hard. The only words I know are tomorrow, good morning, and good afternoon. But my daughter's face, it's changed colour. It looks like she's been living in a cave." You love it. You love a good cave, don't you, David?
Oh yeah, this is why it is so tough for teams in the north to recruit players. It's like, honestly, it's like London. It is up north. Literally, as we flew into Manchester and we got in that car and we were driving towards that sort of northwest coast up into the Southport, Birkdale area. The sky is so close to the ground, Rog. It's always there. Even when it shows absolutely no likelihood of rain whatsoever, the sky is dark. It's close to the ground. We were there in June, Rog, and it got dark at about 4:30.
Yeah, we weren't really, let's just say, in the vicinity of many men who'd cried during Beauty and the Beast screenings. I've got to ask you, what colour does your face change in your man cave, David? Oh, you love a cave.
Well, I do love a cave. I love a man cave, but I like to get out, Rog. I've got a bit of got out on the golf course this weekend. I've got a bit of a tan right now.
The world's divided into people who love man caves and those who don't. Because I find them a bit too much, overwhelming, like a visit to Stoke for Nolito.
At Arsenal, Rog, it's all about Alexis and Ozil. Will they stay or will they go?
God, it's become a silent struggle, David. I mean, more furtive, more backroom than Mitch McConnell and his Senate healthcare bill dealings. I mean, the other piece of odd Arsenal flapping skin is Oxlade-Chamberlain. The Ox! I mean, either offer him a new contract or flip him, because to watch him go on his vacation while every other club sniffs around him just kind of reinforces a sense for many of the Arsenal out contingent that the club are a team with very little plan, Davo. Really big news, though, Arsenal fans. This is good for you. Baron Trump wearing a pair of Arsenal socks while walking around Camp David. He's like a new signing.
Oh, my God, that's bad for the Arsenal brand. I love that. I love that, though. Chelsea, Rog.
Yeah.
Tough to know what's going on with Diego Costa. Antonio Conte certainly attempted to break up with him via text, and yet seems to be unsure whether he's actually going to be able to get rid of him.
Well, we've got to talk about this. Take a step back. What do you make of Conte's decision to tell Diego by text, and Diego then Alex Jonesing him by going public with that text, which I will read. "Hi, Diego. I hope you are well. Thank you for the season we spent together. Good luck for next year. But you are not in my plans." Cole Davo, were you surprised?
Two things. One, I'm not a big fan of the textual breakup. I don't think it's really the way to go and do it. I
In
think
football, as in life?
As in life. I think you've got to man up and, at the very least, do it over the phone if you can't do it face-to-face.
Davo's not a ghoster.
Not a ghoster. So I think you've got to man up. I think you've got to go and deal with it in person. But secondly, it was a very happy breakup. I mean, that textual exchange, it wasn't dark. It wasn't like, it's over. It was sort of friendly and courteous. It was just a very surprising thing. It was almost as though, there's a little bit of it, is it almost felt that it was planned to actually leak immediately, and how would it read when it actually went out there?
That's so wheels within wheels, because when I read it, David, it felt like Fredo. I mean, being kissed on the mouth. You broke my heart. You broke my heart. But I was trying to rationalise it. And to me, being a great manager is all about being able to manage elite talent, idiosyncratic elite talent, manage locker room chemistry, but it's also to know when to turn a blind eye on erratic behaviour because of the benefit, the gain on the field. But it's also about knowing when to break up with it. And I guess ultimately you always say we're not in the locker room. We don't understand what's going in there, but it's always a judgment call, and this was Conte's.
I think what you hear from football people around the game, is that Diego's antics go beyond, unpredictable behaviour, and it goes to sort of perhaps destabilising insanity. And so I think you've got to balance that against the fact that Diego Costa, I don't know where you replace his goals. I just don't know where there aren't that many strikers. I mean, you and I, you're looking at me and you're thinking Lukaku won't score that many at Chelsea. And I sort of agree. It's very, very hard to replace what Diego does. By the way, not only with the ball, sticking it in the back of the net, but also just the nightmare he gives defenders for 90-plus minutes every single time he goes out there on the field, at all points, whether he's got the ball or whether he doesn't have the ball.
There is a simmering sense that Conte's embroiled within a wheels-within-wheels fight for greater control within Chelsea in total over recruitment and transfer policy. I mean, when I read that, I thought, who does he think he is? Arsene Wenger. I mean, the notion of a manager having autonomy at Stamford Bridge, it's ludicrous. It's like Putin giving journalists freedom of the press in Russia. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think the notion of really any managers having autonomy at major football clubs, it just doesn't really happen. Yes, we always measure it against Sir Alex Ferguson of what he had at Man United, or against what we imagine that Arsene has, even though Arsene seems unwilling to go and spend the money. But it's very hard to think of many managers, and I can't imagine if I owned a football team that I would give a manager unfettered ability to go and sign whoever he wants. We're talking about such massive amount of money that you're just not going to get control. I think that what Conte is a little freaked out about is that it's not Roman Abramovich who dictates everything, is that there is a committee of people. There is a sort of a transfer committee, a technical committee that decide these things. And I think he's in a fight against certain members of that committee for more control.
He just wants Matt Miazga back, and he wants him now.
I think the question about Conte, which is interesting as you sort of read more about this, is whether or not Conte's popularity amongst the Chelsea faithful, the fact that they chant his name at the games, and they chant it with a the Mourinho chanting was like about, it always felt when you were there and they were chanting singing the Jose Mourinho song, that it was about worshipping somebody who was winning, and because he's a winner.
It was Fox and Frenzy.
Yeah. Antonio Conte it's being done with love. This is like a people's revolution. This is almost revolutionary. It is almost insubordinate. And I think there are certain people at Chelsea who view that as being, hey, Roman Abramovich is the person to love. He's the person who should be winning that adulation. And what Antonio is getting is a little threatening to certain people at that football club.
Yeah. Too much love, David.
If I'm assassinated this week, it's because I said that on the podcast.
I'll make a note to type that one in.
Okay, good.
And have it written on your casket.
Very good.
Talking about death.
Yeah, Rog, we conclude with the big spenders this transfer window. Your beloved Everton, Rog, who have brought in Sunderland keeper Jordan Pickford. We like that signing. And Ajax attacking midfielder, 3 A's, Davy Klaassen. So many A's. There are so many A's, Rog, in that name.
Oh, so many David.
Davo,
I love that man.
Davo Klaassen.
Do you know who that man looks like? He looks like Stephen Naismith's Dutch son.
Oh,
he's
good.
Absolutely gorgeous. Unabashedly balding at age 24. I adore him. We are spending so much money,
He can
David.
join Tom Davies.
We are spending so much money.
Yeah.
The only thing when I heard that Amazon were buying Whole Foods, I was just shocked that Everton didn't just nick in there to buy it first.
Yeah.
And also, the ratio of players coming in to players I am excited about is so perfect. I've just spent the past 2 weeks behaving like DJ Khaled, just yelling, another one!
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Mate, Pickford, one of the top 5 most exhilarating signings Everton have had in my lifetime. Up there with Lukaku, before we sold him. Kanchelskis, Ferguson, Cotti. Oh, Klaassen is a terrific footballer. We're now throwing money at Gylfi Sigurdsson, which if it happens, the joy might just end me. Here's the shock to my system, David. The Everton way. We either develop our own, Tom Davis, we sign European players you've never heard of, Seamus Coleman, or once coveted players who failed and need a second chance, Mikel Arteta, Morgan Schneiderlin.
Gareth Barry.
I don't know what to make of all of this, Davo. These kind of happy feelings I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
It's a very odd one.
Pickford's very good. He's a very, very good keeper. He's a great shot stopper. The only thing I worry about a little bit with Pickford is watching him play for the England under-21s. In that game, they came back and won against, I think it was Slovakia. Just from set pieces, he's not a particularly tall goalkeeper. He's sort of Messi height. He's a little taller than that.
Height's overrated.
Yeah, but in the world of goalkeepers, he's Messi height. And I worry about him a little bit.
His positioning needs work.
And you've also got, Everton don't have, Jags isn't a particularly tall central defender. So it just worry a little bit about his stature. But he's a fantastic keeper.
I'm not sure how long Jags is going to be with us. But I'll say about Pickford, his distribution is a new weapon at EasyBeasy214. The Men in Blazers show is about to solely be 10-minute highlights of Pickford passing 70-yard lasers to the attack on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that. Just him tossing the ball towards that huge pile of cash we're going to play up front instead of Romelu next season.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing, Davey.
Yeah, we're going to change the whole of the B block. Will be top moments of the Pickford. Is what the whole B block
At
will be.
C28 Noel, what is this new Everton? I am consumed by excitement, anxiety, joy and fear simultaneously. Connor, welcome. That is life. That is life.
God, talking about excitement, Rog, talking about exhilaration. 2 new managers in the Premier League.
2 new friends.
Yeah, just this morning, US time, this afternoon, London time, Crystal Palace announced former Barcelona legend, former Ajax manager. I'm just sticking on the places he was successful.
Positive ones.
Frank de Boer signs with Crystal Palace. My mate Steve Parish got his man.
He's got his man. He's got his 5th permanent manager in 4 years. An amazing statistic. 25%, you mentioned Barcelona, of those presently coaching in a Premier League club have played for Barca. Wow. The legacy of Johan Cruyff, David, shines bright. And also Southampton welcome tactically astute ex-Liverpool defender Mauricio Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Eric Mathis tweeted us, did Pochettino and Pellegrini have a son? Because I did not know that was the case.
That's very good.
Great pick by Southampton.
I know. Great managers, exciting time. Just it's my mind blown. Frank de Boer going to Crystal Palace. That's where the Premier League has come. If you'd have said that when Frank de Boer was actually playing, if you'd have said, hey, see, watching that guy on television play for Barcelona, one day he'll be the manager of Crystal Palace. You would have been like, you what? There's absolutely no way.
It would be like whispering in Derek Jeter's ear at his peak and say, one of these days, you're going to be the manager of the Pawtucket Red Sox.
Yeah, the menace. Yeah, exactly, Roger. Okay, another exhilarating thing, Rog. We got to cast our mind back a couple of weeks back. That enormous qualifier
Feels like
at the
months
Azteca. Mexico won. The US men's national team won. Massive game. We want to hop in the George Michael sports machine, head back to June 11th at the Azteca. Fuchicao when power. Palon, that's bald in Spanish, Rog. Michael Bradley's 6th-minute chip gave the US a 1-0 lead. Wow, what a goal that was. El Tri hit back in the 23rd minute to split the points in CONCACAF's marquee World Cup qualifying matchup. A good result and an interesting case study in Bruce Arena's 2nd tenure as US men's national team manager.
What a game, what a result, what a performance. We will talk about it top line because the game feels like it was so long ago that I'm sure the bags of urine that landed on Rob Stone on the sideline are almost dry at this point. But I do want to talk about Stoner and Lalas for a second because I love Alexei, our beloved Alexei Lalas. I think he was trolling everyone. He kept shouting in the pre-game, the biggest rivalry in the world.
Yeah.
Which I just love, David. Have you ever heard
Was he limiting that to soccer? Or was he just saying just in any form of rivalry?
I think at one point he just looked at the camera and said, and if life forms exist on other planets, in other universes, yet and no, and this one is bigger than all of their rivalries. Have you ever heard anything that is more looking through the American telescope at the soccer world in terms of a statement?
That should be Lalas's middle name.
What? Looking
through the telescope for the thing. But it's brilliant. But it's
I love it.
Everybody falls for it. Everybody falls for it. He's such a troll.
Argentina, Brazil, Germany and France.
No.
Germany and Italy.
Rubbish.
Germany and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Germany and pretty well anyone they've invaded in the past 800 years, which is everyone. I mean, I got a sense of just how big the US-Mexico game is when I was actually in Europe for the Confederations Cup decider last year and could not find the game broadcast on any network anywhere in Europe, which sent me into a panic. I'll just say the Cavs-Warriors is bigger in the European imagination, but it doesn't diminish the way we feel and experience it. And for Bruce Arena's team in this context, a massive game, a massive, massive result in which there was so much to be impressed about. Starting with, I've got to say this, all hail Michael Bradley. 6 minute, the rage, the desire, the creative expression. What a delicious tingling of a moment, David.
It was a goal for the ages. I mean, this has got to be one of the greatest goals ever scored by an American.
Up there with Gaetjens in 1950 World Cup.
In World Cup football and World Cup qualifiers,
Landon
World
Donovan.
Cup football. This was a fantastic
1989 Trinidad and Tobago goal by Caligari.
Caligari, yeah, that goal. Fantastic goal.
Winalda 94, probably put in that against Switzerland.
Yeah.
But massive.
Fantastic goal. Audacious creativity, audacious confidence, amazing visualization, and the technique, the ability, a ball running away from you, to chip with the ball running away from you and make that. It is an incredible goal. I could not be happier for Michael Bradley. Too many people, too quickly for me, like to, rule him out, say he's over, we don't appreciate our great players enough. I sort of feel a little bit the same way that Clint Dempsey is now being sort of forced out to pasture by a lot of US fans. Dempsey, Bradley, they are still such important people on this team, in this squad, is that very few players have the I don't care how well you're playing in your, second-rate German club or in your 6 appearances in MLS this season. Michael Bradley is going to have technique. He's going to have the confidence. He's going to have the ability. That's going to be very, very difficult for anybody else to come in. What a fantastic big game goal for a big game player.
David. So much struggle, so many doubters. I say about this goal, I mean, he forced the turnover with pressure in the middle. He said afterwards he'd been watching game tapes that Chicharito had a tendency to go fishing for the ball deep. You saw him read that beautifully inside his shiny cranium as he stole a ball, broke into space, and then just unleashed like a bull Carly Lloyd. I mean, it was a moment I just looked at you on the plane and shouted, "Balls win! Balls win! Balls win!" And they did in this one, Davo. I mean, it really was. This was the kind of goal I saw Kyle Beckham in my dreams scoring in the World Cup final. Bradley scored it instead.
When you shouted that at me on the plane, I did respond, because I was in Beauty and the Beast at that point.
Oh, God. To have the awareness is one thing. To have the ability to float that ball in high altitude, thin air is another one. And to have the confidence to do it when you've essentially been a piñata for American fans' criticism for 3 years. And that ball, by the way, could have floated off his foot and just gone about 30 yards over the bar. And it would have been the undoing of him, David. To do it was a remarkable thing.
You have no idea how many times I go on YouTube and I watch the 2008 men's Wimbledon final between Nadal and Federer, and I watch the 4th set tiebreaker. That 4th set tiebreaker is the greatest tiebreaker ever played in what was arguably, I think, the greatest Wimbledon final ever. In that tiebreaker, Nadal, in consecutive points, incredibly close, I think the score is like 8-8, Nadal hits the greatest forehand ever hit in the history of the game. And I think on match point down, Federer hits a backhand passing shot down the line. That is the greatest ground stroke ever hit in the history of the sport. And it is that combination of the visualization to see it and believe that you can hit it, and the executional ability under pressure to go and make it. And I just think all the time, this is what sets apart the elite athletes from everybody else. It's why we truly can't actually relate to them, and it's why when we try and apply our own weaknesses, our own logic, our own rationale, our own sensitivities against these star athletes, they just don't apply. What an amazing accomplishment.
I'm just going to ignore that you've just diminished 7 years of Men in Blazers podcast totally and correctly. But when he scored that very second, Davo, in my Twitter timeline, Ben Platt won a Tony for Dear Evan Hansen. And he said something that could actually fit Michael Bradley all too well. He said, "The things that make you strange are the things that make you powerful." And that, to me, is watching Michael Bradley on a football field, particularly in a US men's national team jersey. And when you feel lonely, when you feel despairing, when you feel overwhelmed, dear GFOP listener, that Michael Bradley goal will always be there to cuddle you. Trust me, it works. We learned that football is a really cruel lover, David, a lesson that we didn't need to be taught, but we were. Bobby Wood whiffed with a shot from point-blank range that could have put the US 2-0 up. Within seconds, phenomenal counter. Mexico punished the US, a moment of chaos. There was really the one blink by an impressive US backline. They sat back, they defended so deeply. The team only had 26.4% of possession. Jeff Cameron was the wall that Mexico had to pay for. I thought Peaky Blinder Areola was fearless. Kellen Acosta, I can't wait to meet that man when we go up to Hartford. He just strolled around the Azteca as if he's a seasoned veteran at the international level with poise and courage, just 21.
Can I say something? Is that I didn't watch the game until I came back. So just still quite fresh in my mind, having watched it and came back from Europe this weekend. What I like about this is that under Klinsmann, we were talking a lot about the US transitioning to playing more possession-based football. You know, they wanted to play with the ball. That's how Klinsmann saw that they were end up going to go and win.
That's how we talked about it.
And yet they didn't, but it's what they talked about. And I think Alexei and a lot of the guys held him accountable. Okay, you've told us you're going to go and play this kind of football. I like the US playing this style. This is the style I like. I love that counter-attacking football. It's so made for the American spirit. This is, after all, how the Americans won the revolution. It was by taking pot shots at the redcoats in muskets from the woods. This is the American style of playing football, and I love it. It was physical. It was tactically aware. The fact I didn't know the detail that Bradley watched the game tape and picked out that Chicharito weakness. I thought it was a fantastic performance. Playing like this feels like a return, and obviously it is. It's Arena. It's his second time there. This is a return to the way I really, really liked watching this team play football. You and I had a discussion about this. I'd lost my way a little bit with this US team. If you go back and read the diaries I wrote about this team in 2002, 2006 at the World Cup, I love the way the US played football.
You love them.
I love them. And over the years with this whole thing, I think they lost their way a little bit in terms of the style of football, believing that they could go and play with the big boys that same style. The US don't have to play like this. The US won this country against the greatest naval power in the world at that point, which was Britain, with pot shots in the woods taking muskets, and they brought down the superpower. There's no reason why the US can't win the World Cup playing counter-attacking football. I said it here. That's how I want the US to play football.
You say it's a return, which I love, to the form of football. But when you look at who's playing now, Areola, Bobby Wood, DeAndre Yedlin, hopefully, please God, soon Josh Sargent, and of course, Pulisic. So young, all of them, playing, probably getting into their prime in about 5 years. I'd just say, America, there is no need to be afraid. Pulisic could have won it at the death. 88th minute, firing a shot with a goal at his mercy. A sight which gave me the thickening. I'll need to dispatch it just wide right and then do a delightful little air kick of frustration with his 18-year-old leg. A reminder that he's human after all. I mean, it was a shock to watch our Lord and Saviour miss. I was almost glad he did, though, Davo, because the team's hierarchy is a fragile thing. And him being an 18-year-old security blanket, don't worry, Christian will always do it for us. It can really warp a hierarchy where Josie and Clint Dempsey are now supporting players. It's almost good that the story coming out of this was not Pulisic again, almost too much too soon, even though he is just one or two well-placed neck tattoos away from being the world's best player.
And is it any coincidence that this was Michael Bradley's best performance in a US jersey in recent memory, at the point that all the attention going in has been on Pulisic?
He's a fantastic number two. He's a fantastic... When he is the support, when he's the Scottie Pippen, he's fantastic. When he is placed in a position to be the Michael Jordan, I think he almost takes on too much responsibility mentally.
Yeah.
Too much for him. But you're saying when he is... Sorry, finish your point there, right?
No, I think my point is actually more that it can't be easy for Michael Bradley, who has... This is the way you've got to spend more time around professional athletes. I'm sure he's very excited about the young boy from Hershey. At the same time, he has been around this team for a long time. He's felt like the leader. We overrate the idea that on teams, everybody loves each other that much. There's probably some internal competitiveness. You kind of want your own story. You want your own moment in the spotlight. You don't even think of scoring a goal like that unless you think you're the best player on the team. You don't even think. You don't even conceive of trying to do that.
It's all Dax McCarty does now, apparently. Just fires it from 60 yards.
So I think it's
it's
no coincidence with all the attention to Pulisic going into this game that it was Bradley who stepped up and had the dominant memory from that game.
But you know who really stepped up, and I've got to say this, full respect to Bruce Arena, David. Bruce Areno, which I think he'd be called if he was Brazilian.
Yeah.
8 points out of 12.
Mauricio Bruce Areno.
In X Games.
Yeah.
That team selection, 7 changes, derided the moment it was announced.
Bold.
So sophisticated in hindsight, blending experience with Azteca virgins. And picking Guzzi, saying, you know what, you did well last time in the Azteca, you're going to go again. The only thing Bruce needs, in my estimation, it's a new tailor. Unless he's got some kind of secret sponsorship deal with Men's Warehouse, there's just no excuses for a cut like that. I do think about Bruce, Davo. You know, you hear about Zidane and how the Real Madrid players respect his European achievements, so they all believe in him and listen to him. I'm starting to believe Bruce Arena is like the American Zidane. I mean, Omar Gonzalez pointed out that, you know, this worked, the avant-garde selection, because he'd said it, and Bruce Arena had chosen it, and then he thoroughly prepared us. I mean, I think they look at him with his, maybe, how many MLS Cups has he won? 87 MLS Cups.
Yeah.
The American players, he understands their mindset. I think they look at him like the Real Madrid players look at Zidane.
The US now turns its attention to the Gold Cup. What is this, the Centenario +1? What is it? What are we looking at right now? Which kicks off, who's coming in? UEFA, Oceania? Who's playing in this one?
I think we're playing Volpe meat sticks in the first round.
It kicks off July 8th against Panama. Before that, Dax McCarty and company will play Ghana in a friendly. That's this Saturday, July 1st in Hartford, Connecticut. The biggest rivalry in global... whatever.
Big. Remember that last one when we said the biggest?
The US-Ghana one is even better. And, Rog, you're heading to Hartford to interview Kellen Acosta Friday afternoon.
I am, Davo. I'm going to go to a US team, to your point, that we can believe in once again, which I think is the biggest legacy psychologically of the Mexico game. We can say, roll on Gold Cup. I'm going to sit down with Acosta. We're going to see... You know, a squad take the field. Christian Roldan of Seattle, Israeli Drews, Kenny Schaaf. Most of all, Dom Dwyer. God, as an Englishman who loves America, I've got to say it gives me a special thrill to see his head in a US jersey. It's everything that I believe in. And to all the haters, see, you don't need to speak German to get a US call-up after all. Dom Dwyer once told me, Davo, that the secret to his success is that when he's told not to do something, he does it. So Bruce Arena, I know you listen to this pod, just send Dom Dwyer onto the field and order him not to score any goals. I think he's going to be unstoppable.
Talking of unstoppable, the kids, on the same day that US played Mexico, England...
Davo's happy day.
Well, not an England under-20 team, a team you can actually get behind. The England under-20s won the World Cup in Korea. They saw off Venezuela 1-0 in the final, courtesy of a goal from Everton's double-barreled named dynamo Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's England's first global football title since '66. They beat a lot of very good teams to even make it to that final. Interesting stuff, Rog.
Oh, it's interesting that 3 of the 6 ever-present players in this team came from Everton. 6 of the 12 goals scored, Everton, with Baby Lookman.
I have to say, for Chelsea, it's not so good, as we just sold Solanke, who was he won the Golden Boot at the tournament. We just offloaded him to Liverpool. It was crazy.
But what does it mean to win the under-20 title? I mean, it gives you the promise of a golden future. More often a false promise, David. Just ask the Serbians who won in 2015 or Ghana in 2009.
Yeah, look, some very good teams. You're right, Ghana, Serbia, also some very good teams. Some very good players have also emerged at this. And I think for England, let me give you the positive, first of all. The positive is England, whose youth development... No, I'll give you the... Then I'll give you the negative.
Positive.
I'll give you the anti... I'll give you the anti-Davo. The positive is that England, for years, didn't have youth development right, and I think they're starting to get youth development right. Not only the under-20s in the World Cup, a B team, under-21, won the Toulon tournament, which is a very prestigious tournament in south of France every year. And then the under-21s themselves are in...
The Euros.
Yeah, in the Euros. They're in the semi-finals.
Against the Germans.
Yeah, the Germans. They play the Germans
not an important
tomorrow.
rivalry, Alexis.
So youth development, which was wrong for so long, youth development seems to be going right. That's a great thing.
It's right until the age of 18.
Yeah.
And then it falls off the grid. Here's the problem, Dave.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say the negative is these players don't ever get to go and play for their teams in the Premier League.
There's nowhere for them to be nurtured in an elite fashion.
Nowhere.
I mean, the Premier League, it just doesn't give these kids opportunity to develop and be nurtured to risk young talent. And English players, they never go abroad for any kind of experience. So you have the 13 players who won the final. They played 1,094 Premier League minutes, or the equivalent of 12 games combined, Dave. This is sad, because I don't like to be the negative to your positive.
No. That was the negative. Even my positive self was going to say they don't get to play.
Here's the negative, negative. For many of the players who won that glorious day for English football, winning that trophy is going to be the pinnacle of their career.
So
it's over, lads.
So
it's over.
So as an England fan, in order to celebrate winning the Under-20 World Cup, You have to be. It's what I said on Twitter. I no longer have any interest in anything in over 20s football. You have to celebrate it just for what it is for the under 20 World Cup. I don't think this has any bearing on the senior team. However, I do think for individual players, I think Solanke, if he can crack into the Liverpool lineup, I think he's got a pretty bright future. I think your Everton boys actually look good, and they are. Yeah, absolutely. He looked very, very good. I think you're looking at some players who might do very, very well. I think even for Jordan Pickford at the under-21 Euros, that's fantastic experience for him going and playing over there.
Just 352 days till the World Cup proper starts in Russia. Or as GFOP at Justin Britain wrote, only 371 days until England go home after the group stages.
You mean the over-20s World Cup, Rog? If you're interested,
the lesser one.
If you're interested in over-20s football, yeah, the World Cup starts.
If over-20s football's your bag.
If it's your thing, over-20s football, then yeah, there's going to be a World Cup in Russia. If you're mainly interested in under-20s, it's already done England the best team in the world. Confederations Cup, Rog. Putinville. Yeah. Where the dress rehearsal for next year's World Cup is entering the semi-finals. Oh my God, not many people in the stadia. Portugal set to face Chile, and the Germans take on Juan Carlos Osorio's El Tri in the semi-finals.
Oh, this is a bit of a... It's like a bit of a...
I know. The Russian fans don't even have enough people to beat up.
I know.
They're so bored by it. There's no one to club over the head with hammers.
What is football?
I am so getting assassinated. Would I be assassinated? I'm not that powerful. I'm just going to get whacked.
What, you are?
Yeah, for all this anti-Russian stuff.
Abramovich can do it now because he'll think that you just did it for demeaning Russia and not for undermining the Chelsea infrastructure and decision-making. I mean, let's be honest, the Confederations Cup does not matter at all unless the United States shock Spain 2-0, in which case it's the most important tournament in the world.
Same as the Under-20s World Cup, by the way.
The only highlight of the whole tournament has been seeing The Simpsons' brilliant synopsis of the football match that will determine once and for all which nation is the greatest on earth, Mexico or Portugal, actually played for real. I've got to say, Matt Groening is a prophet, and as he suggested, he knew, because in the gag, and you've got to look at this online, his commentator goes, "Ties, you bet!" And the game actually, in reality, was a 2-2 draw. The only sad thing...
He's a prophet.
...was that none of Arriaga 2, Barriaga, Aruglia, or Pizza Toto... Or Pete Zotza took to the field. Talking about sad things, I've got to say, watching Dr. Joe's face, the poor guy, every time his panicked little self.
VAR,
every
VAR.
Time VAR is used, and he realises he's being nudged ever closer to retirement. I mean, Dr. Joe is essentially like an elevator operator. You don't need them anymore. We've invented buttons. People can push them themselves.
Yeah, but you still need humans.
It's heartbreaking.
The great thing about VAR, though, is that you still need humans to make terrible decisions in replay, just as you have humans making terrible decisions on the field.
Don't take away Dr. Joe. I want Dr. Joe to come and do a pod with us.
Yeah.
What kind of a doctor is he? You can do it on medical issues.
I know.
Medical malfeasance with Dr. Joe.
Didn't we ask that question once? I think Stoner told us what he was a doctor of.
A proctologist.
It was like the business of fitness or something. It was like, it's a phys ed degree, I believe.
Oh, he's a doctor in the same way as Dr. Hook are doctors. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, Dr. John. Yeah. I have no idea.
There is a tournament I have been enjoying, David.
Oh, the US Open.
Oh, the US Open Cup.
Yeah.
Cuppity Cup. I'll just say Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Oh, FC. Oh, that 30,000 crowd that you had. The USL team, FC Cincinnati, beating MLS's Crew. It is unbelievable what you're building out there in the Queen City. In the next round, June 28th, that's this week, you play the Chicago Fire. I think that game's even on ESPN too.
Wow.
8 o'clock. Miami FC, all the FCs, beat Orlando City 3-1. Sacramento Republic. Isn't that Rebecca Lewis' husband?
That is.
Great manager.
That's Paul Buckle's team.
Crush Real Salt Lake 4-1. I'll just say that tournament should be so much bigger brand-wise, sponsorship-wise. We should sponsor it.
Really?
The Men in Blazers Cup. Be amazing. Give Christos some Guinness. Watch him go and devastate all comers.
Okay. We'll have a business meeting about that, Rod.
You just made me realise it's never going to happen. Go on.
In
Can you imagine that
MLS
meeting, if we went and sat down with Sunil Gulati with our PowerPoint as to why Men in Blazers should sponsor.
And him, this tiny little man on a very big throne with his feet dangling at the bottom. Okay, Rod, we got to move on. In MLS. Rivalry weekend in MLS saw Houston Dynamo and FC Dallas draw 1-1. Portland and Seattle tied 2-2, courtesy of a last-gasp goal from substitute Pete Sotso. No, sorry, it was Clint Dempsey. And right here in our backyard, Patrick Vieira's boys get over on the Red Bulls in a 2-0 win, with the first of those goals coming from your mate, Rog, Jack Harrison.
Oh, I love that, man. It was a slow start to a game. At Crudell explained that for us. He said NYCFC always starts slowly on the road because they've got to adjust playing in a rectangle.
I know. Feels weird. I mean, some of the lines are even parallel to each other. It's very difficult for them.
It was fantastic performance. NYCFC, real golfing quality over the Red Bulls. I mean, that opening goal was a beauty. 33rd minute. Jack Harrison, look at this online if you've not seen it. Instinctual, left-footed pirouette, geometrically perfect strike into the corner. 7 goals on the season. David, is this crazy for me to say? Jack Harrison for England?
No, not at all.
I mean,
absolutely not at all.
If only for the English media's meltdown if an MLS player was called up for the national team. Can you imagine?
Oh, no. If Jack Harrison was a central midfielder, he'd be in the team. That's the one thing that England does not seem to be generating.
Be fantastic troll play. Do it, Gareth Southgate. Do it. Just over a year after they were demolished 7-0 in the same fixture, NYCFC gleaned their first victory at Red Bull Arena. It will not be their last in their long, storied history. And then the other big game, I mean, I say that crowd at Portland, my God, genuinely brilliant. This one, from a world football perspective, genuinely brilliant. The Portland crowd for this game. Clint Dempsey rose up like the kind of sockeye salmon he loves to catch in the Elliott Bay to nod the ball home in the 94th minute and tie the game against dread rival Timbers 2-2. He'd come on as a sub, found the net for his 9th goal against Portland, asked if he liked scoring against Portland. He just did that grin that he does, and he says, I like scoring against everybody. Say, that man is going to become a US national treasure as America's super sub at the World Cup 2018, David.
Oh, I like it, Rog. You heard it here first. The winner of the coveted Guinness Men in Blazers Poet, Philosopher, Sacker Scrap, Raven of the Week is Robbie First from Lower Merion, Pennsylvania. Summer is upon us, he writes. A time for new beginnings, a time for short shorts and fresh stars. What is one goal you baldies have for the summer months ahead? Something new you'd like to try?
David, what are you doing? Are you taking up surfing?
And I
fishing?
By the way, you are a prophet today. I tried something for
Really?
the first time last week in Europe, in Ibiza, and I loved it. It was wakeboarding. I love
You and Julie Fowdy.
wakeboarding.
Go
I
on.
love it. It's like snowboarding, Rog, but it's while you're getting pulled by a very fast boat. I think it takes a lot of people quite a long time to figure out how to get up. I got up, not my first time, maybe my second time I got up, and then the third time I was really going for it. It is the most exhilarating thing. I'm a dry bob, Rog. I'm not a wet bob. So in English schools, you divide it between dry bobs and wet bobs. Dry bobs, they can actually run and they can hit people, and so they let them play like rugby and cricket and football. And wet bobs, if you can't run and can't move, you row and you do water sports. So I've not done many water sports. Done a bit of sailing with my dad, but I don't really participate. I've never water skied. I've never done anything like this. And wakeboarding, this is my new thing. So I've found a person out there in Long Island. I'm going to go wakeboarding next weekend, I think, over July 4th. I love wakeboarding,
What was it that you
Rog.
love about it? Does it have the same kind of adrenaline filler when you just kind of do a little bit of pee down the front of your pants?
No, that's not what I was really thinking. Do you know, as a kid,
That
you
same
and I have
release.
spoken about it before. You know, there was the first wave of English skateboarding was around sort of the late 1970s when they were first. And I'm from South London. The
Yeah.
South Bank was a big part. I used to go up there. I used to skateboard. I'm goofy foot, but I love skateboarding.
Throw a few ollies.
So it's got the sort of the skateboarding thing, but it's skateboarding at high speed, getting pulled by a mother boat, Rog.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating. It's great. It's challenging. It's difficult. And the big thing for me, and you know, the amount of work stress I have, all the other things going on in my head, anything where all I'm thinking about while I was wakeboarding was wakeboarding, Rog. I wasn't thinking about anything else in my life. I was thinking about just trying to stay up on that thing and carve some turns, getting pulled by that boat, the sun on my face, feeling that salt water splash into
Everyone
me.
looking.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Everyone looking, who's that great blonde guy out there pulling tricks on the wakeboard?
No, that was Steve Parrish. I was the bald one.
Oh, we've got a bonkers summer.
Yeah.
We're headed to Chicago for MLS All-Star Game.
Yeah.
July 31st.
Yeah, you're looking at me like
Downtown
I actually know the date.
Chicago. Honestly,
Yeah.
cannot wait. Chicago.
Yeah.
GFOPs.
Yeah, can't wait.
I'm actually, between now and then, I'm headed to Scandinavia, David. Talking about big blondes, lots, the parish lookalikes. I've wanted to go to Sweden. I went to Sweden once for work in 2000. I went there for 24 hours.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best 24 hours I've had in my life. It was life-shaping. The people were magical. The culture's intoxicating. The herring was just so herringy. I've spent the last 17 years thinking a lot about that place, watching the movies, following the designers, listening to the music. I was there for 24 hours. I'm now going to go for 8 days. The place has a remarkable hold on me. I wondered if I'm going to Stockholm and then Visby, Gotland. If 24 hours shaped me inside my mind as much as it did, David, I'm going to be a man transformed by the time I get home.
Yeah.
I'm even going to go to the ABBA Museum, which I'm literally, honestly crapping it about. Listeners who've got recommendations on where I should go and what novels I should read while I'm there, email us, meninblazers@gmail.com, or over Twitter. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, see if they can point you in the direction of the ball bearing factories in the same way they did to the Germans in 1940, Rog. It'd be wonderful.
It was just a lost in translation mistake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why did you have to say that?
My former in-laws are all Swedish, Rog. My kids are little Vikings. It's all said with love. I love the Swedes.
God, I love
I love the
cognitive.
Swedes.
You love the Swedes as much as I love cognitive dissonance.
The ball bearing factories are over this way. My dear Heron. Okay, Rog, your 4th of July holiday weekend looks like this. It starts in the most patriotic fashion with the USA playing Ghana in Hartford Saturday. The game kicks off at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. It's followed immediately by a league that stops for no one, and Sporting Kansas City versus the Portland Timbers in MLS at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on Sunday, in the Confederations Cup final, Rog, hopefully there'll be some fans for the Russians to go and hit over the heads with hammers.
Pizzola's going to be playing.
That kicks off for 2 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1. There are many ways to connect to us. One is through our Amazon Emporium. Helps keep the show going. Anytime you go on Amazon for items big or small, just click off the Emporium page and Men in Blazers gets a tiny percentage that allows us to cover the cost of creating the show. What are you putting in the Emporium this week, Rogelio?
A book.
Oh, my word. What
Great
a
book,
shot.
Dave. Cockfosters by
Yeah.
Helen Simpson.
Huh.
Oh, I love this book. She's an author who's a master of the short story form. She crafts acutely observed, wryly funny, very English stories about humans, mostly women, suddenly aware that their life is passing and a bit too much time has been frittered away, used, lost. The darkness crackling on the horizon could be far away, or it could be much closer than we all bear to think. I mean, there's a standout story named Earworm. It's a gender reversal fantasy in which the narrator, a man called Colin, lies awake all night stressed by his wife in bed because the world is, quote, women-shaped, and his career, his opinions are always subject and second to his wife's decisions, needs, and occasional physical demands. He says, the media's so disparaging of men over 40, the way it zooms in and out on our paunches and spindle shanks, our pendulous earlobes. It's over for Colin, Davo. It was brilliant, brilliant stuff. Read it, Cockfosters by Helen Simpson.
I love it, Rog. In truth, wakeboarding is my second extreme sport, Rog. My number one extreme sport is riding a bicycle in New York City, which I do in the summer months. I like to ride my bike around New York City
You're
until
going
it
to
gets...
be jumping out of a spacecraft near Mars and just parachuting down before we know it.
Well, I try to ride it around in the summer until it inevitably gets stolen, which happens every summer. The wheels, the tyres, anything not bolted down on a bike in New York City. But I needed it. I had my bike at home. Tyres were flat. Usually I would wheel it over to the bike shop and use their high pressure, air to go and use it. But instead I decided to go and invest in my own floor pump. Pumps. Think of the bicycle pumps we had as kids. Used to work out my arms using old bicycle
That's why
pumps.
my left arm's got bigger muscles than my right to this day.
Pump technology, Rog, has advanced a long way. It's like waking up on an alien planet where things are done completely different. Take this. Take a gander at this, Rog. That is the Vibrelli Performance Bike Floor Pump and Glueless Puncture Kit with rapid T-valve, simple switch from Presta to Schrader valves.
It's the future.
It's future. It's a bargain. It's on sale right now, Rog, at $35.98. That's free shipping, Rog. It's fantastic. Got it. Pumped up my wheels within seconds with that. Rode around my bike last night without a helmet, taking my life into my own hands. Got to remember to go and get my wheel redone.
Looks like
I'll
it's
leave you to
designed for
China.
lovemaking, David.
well, that bit does, yeah. Yeah, that bit does, without any doubt. Visit meninblazers.com to sign up for our newsletter, which we produce with our partner Guinness. Follow us on Twitter at meninblazers, at MC Davies, at Rog Bennett, on Instagram at meninblazers, at MC_Davies, on Facebook, Men in Blazers. You can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com. You can always send your ravens to the crap part of Soho, Venderpunk, Rog.
War pig!
Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Explosion!
Balds win, Balds win.
Take that, Gloria!
Balds lose.
Oh, to see a sucker.
Abrigado, rock on, mate.
Kung Fu Fighting America. Love you, Davo.
Love you, Rogelio.
Love you, Pizza Ola.